Yeah, I don't.
I'm here in the beautiful Santa Monica Mountains in the back of Malibu to review yet another car that I'm particularly excited about. This is the 2021 Ford Expedition. You may ask yourself, why would you want to review a car that's in its 4th year, which the Expedition is? It is due for a mid-model upgrade, and it's a big one, and I'll get into the details of that later. The interior of it won't change that much as far as layout goes, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to test this to see if this is the winner for our growing family. The Ford Expedition shares its platform with the Lincoln Navigator in 2018. They fully redesigned both vehicles. I think the Ford actually looks better than the Lincoln. So when this model came out in 2018, it was kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to American large SUVs, because Ford was the first American company to put independent suspension on the rear. So the redesign of this Expedition really allowed them to increase the room inside the cabin. Peanut's probably gonna sit there because he's taller, and then Pohaku is gonna climb right through past the baby into the back. The third row on the Expedition actually reclines, which you don't find on the Suburban, the Tahoe, the Yukon XL, even the extended new Escalade. The third row just doesn't recline, which is a huge bummer. Okay, so this is the position all the way forward. It gives you a little bit of extra luggage space behind there. But if you're not worried about luggage space, it's got a recline. It's not as far as the MINivan, but it's actually pretty good, right?
For the back seats, it's very good for the reclining.
Being in the upright position, or is that too uncomfortable?
Too uncomfortable because you're leaning forward and you kind of get your eye line down. You see good out these windows. They made it, the usual windows are like cutting off this part, right?
In the MINivan, they were a little bit less.
Really small.
Yeah, the smaller in the back. We really have to access it from here because of our driveway. So the kids would have to, Pohaku, let's try it. You're going in the back row, squeeze past, like you're getting in past baby. There, it works. So without moving the seat, we can actually get in.
The armrests are humongous, like a lot more leg space than the Range Rover, but not as much as in the, is it a MINivan?
Yeah, the MINivan.
Oh, okay. Not really that much of a car geek.
Are these seats bigger or more comfortable than the MINivan? Captain's seats are about the same, or?
Definitely feels better than the, I don't know why, but it just feels better than the Range Rover. The leather, I don't know why, it just feels better. Probably because there's more space.
So you like the back seats?
Yes, definitely.
So you think this might be a good car for us and the baby?
Yes, but when it starts driving, if you're in the back and you come up on a bump, it does lift you up like this much.
Yep.
So
Because you're sitting on the back wheels right there.
It's like a catapult.
Yeah. You get the most harsh ride back there. But on the freeway, it should be pretty good. And then, of course, there's plenty of room for Prismo, our dog, to cruise in between the seats.
Good about the MINivan is that more trunk space, even if you recline the back seat.
One of my favorite features about the Expedition is you hit that unlock button twice and hold it down. Go ahead. See your brother in there. All the windows come down. Sometimes even the sunroof opens on certain cars. I've had cars in the past for the last 20 years that do this. Some do it, some don't. When you lock it, you go lock once and hold it down for the second time, and all of those windows will come back up. That's a great feature if it's a hot day and you're walking towards the car, you double click that, all the windows go down, you get all that bad air out of the car. Now what Ford doesn't have yet in this Expedition is a choice of engines. Right now it's still the powerhouse of a 400 horsepower, 480 foot-pounds of torque, 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 that is impressively fast. Let's floor it, boys, and see what happens, okay? Ready? What? That's fast. It really wants to go. So when you switch it into sport mode, switches to all-wheel drive, which I thought was very, very clever. This is a big car, and the fact that it... That's pretty fun, yeah?
No.
No? Dad's done this on the motorcycle many times this road.
This isn't a motorcycle, Dad.
Yeah, but it handles great. Look, we're not even squealing the tires. Pretty impressive. Yeah, when we switch that mode back to normal mode, or eco mode, it automatically goes back into 2H, which is two-wheel drive on the rear. Very clever, Ford. Now that is the only engine choice, and I'm really hoping that Ford is going to put the V6 turbo diesel that's currently in the F-150 into this Expedition, which should really improve gas mileage to 20 city, 27 highway. Right now, it's pretty horrible. I mean, the average that I've been getting is 14 for the entire week that I've had it, and the best I've seen on the freeway was 21 miles to the gallon. Most of my drives to work were around 15.8 to 17.5 miles to the gallon. So it's not a fuel efficient engine, the gas engine. There are some V8s out there that might be a little bit more fuel efficient even than the twin turbo V6. But one of the things about the twin turbo V6s is that it has a lot of torque off the line. So it's a lot of fun to drive. The engine that's in the F-150, the diesel, puts out 240 horsepower, which isn't very much, but it puts out 440 foot-pounds of torque, which is the same engine that's in my wife's full-size Range Rover. It's a lot of fun to drive because you have that power around town and your torque comes in at a super low RPM. So I got my fingers crossed that Ford drops a diesel in this. Otherwise, you know, there's really no other competition. GMC, Chevy, and Cadillac have it in their full-size SUVs. They have the diesel option, and that is a really fuel-efficient engine. So the 2022 Expedition, which is coming out at the end of the year, is probably going to have something equivalent to Cadillac Super Cruise, which is a hands-free freeway driving. So you can just sit here, take your hands off the wheel and just watch the road. Autopilot, you know, like Tesla has, and some of the other car companies are coming out with it, which I think is the future. Look, it's boring to drive in LA. So, I mean, why would I want to steer if I don't have to? If you're driving through a canyon, of course, yeah, it's fun. Handling in this, because it's the four-wheel independent suspension, it is awesome. For a big SUV like this that doesn't have air suspension, the ride quality is completely acceptable. The kids were like, oh, it's a little rougher than Mom's, you know, Range Rover, but the Range Rover has air suspension, so you can't really compare the two. The Expedition, I have to say, is really good when it comes to road noise, but also wind noise. It's quiet in here. It's not quite S-Class worthy, but it is right up there with your luxury brands, and that's what you're paying for. It's very well laid out, and once you get to know where everything is, it really is amazing. I have to say too, on the Platinum trim, you do get the massaging seats, and when you combine that with the heated seats, you push the massage. I use it all the time. As soon as I get in the car, I turn on the massaging seats. The navigation is a little bit outdated, but it really does everything you need it to do. The screen, you know, has multiple functions on it. It looks good still. Everyone says now it's outdated, and I have seen spy shots of the 2022 model, and the whole interior upgrade is going to look more like the F-150, but the Expedition looks like it's going to get a big screen right down here, kind of like the Tesla. So that, I think, is going to be a nice feature, and they're really going to spruce up the interior and make it way more luxurious. Although I have to say, this one is already really nice. You have pockets everywhere. There's places to put your arms. The center console here is huge. It's very comfortable. I mean, driving a big SUV like this, I think the advantages of it are, it just feels nice. I don't particularly love mid-size SUVs. When you get in this is just, it feels so safe, so solid, so big, and it's just so comfortable to drive. The seats as well. The seats are amazing. Ford used to have horrible seats, especially in the F-150 that I had, the 2011. It used to give me a backache no matter what I did. But they've come a long way. So I would say this is on par with your GLS and your European cars when it comes to comfort, handling, and noise, road noise, wind noise, all the things that make your drive more comfortable. This is hands down right up there with all of the luxury cars. So hey, kudos to Ford for making such an incredible vehicle. And it is a 2018, so there's plenty of used ones out there that you can buy. So where the GMC, the Chevy, and the Cadillac really shine is that they're coming out, or they're out now, with a 3-liter Duramax turbo diesel that's rated at 20 and 27 roughly. And I've seen some of the YouTube videos of road tests on those, and they're getting above their expectation, which is what I'm used to as well, because my wife's full-size Range Rover is a V6 diesel as well, and that gets incredible gas mileage. 75, you're getting 28 miles to the gallon. But if you drive it slower than that, the gas mileage on the diesels increases by so much. One time I drove 45 minutes on the freeway with my wife's Range Rover, and I was going 62 to 65 miles an hour without any traffic, and I got almost 40 miles to the gallon. You heard that right. Almost 40 miles to the gallon because I babied it. So when you baby a diesel, and you're driving like a new Suburban diesel and you're going 65, you're probably gonna get closer to 30 miles to the gallon. Personally, I wouldn't get the full low because that's the lower transfer case for real off-roading. You'd have to get rid of these 22-inch wheels that the Platinum comes with and put some off-road tires on it. So if you want the luxury package, then yes, you can opt for the full low. But I think the 4A, which is the automatic all-wheel drive, is enough for most people if you're driving in the snow or if you're driving on wet roads. You could switch it to that and you pretty much have all-wheel drive, which is what most people really need. So to sum it up, the Expedition is a really great family SUV. Wish list for 2022. I hope that Ford puts the diesel in there and also has that autonomous driving feature that gives you hands-free freeway driving, just like Cadillac's Super Cruise that's available in the Escalade right now. The Escalade is also available in a diesel, so I'm really hoping that Ford drops it in this for 2022, which will make it a real contender. Price-wise, they're about the same. And if you're tossing this up, minivan or SUV, you know, this is almost $30,000 more than a fully loaded Platinum Sienna with all-wheel drive. So it's a tough call. So wish list again for us is diesel in a big SUV, reclining third row that the Escalade does not have, neither does the Denali. But I'm gonna try to get my hands on a GMC Denali Yukon with diesel and air suspension to see how that drives. The thing is, with the GMC products, your Yukon, Tahoe, they don't have Super Cruise yet. They're probably not going to get it until 2023 is what I'm hearing. So if Ford comes out with it by the end of the year in the Expedition, that's going to be the only competition to the Escalade at a much, much lower price point, which would be, again, I think that would make it a major contender for our family. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I'm going to have the baby next, so won't be any car reviews probably for maybe a month. We'll see. We'll see what I can get my hands on next. Thanks for joining me.